We live in a world of ever-changing technology, new phone apps, social media, online storage of data, but how much of our personal information is being stolen? Sharon Polsky is with the Privacy and Access Council of Canada president and joins me now from my hometown of Calgary. Sharon, welcome back to BCN.
Always a pleasure.
FACEAPP has been in the spotlight once again over privacy concerns. Now, it's a Russian app that was developed and it applies filters to photos, making somebody look younger or older. And it's gone viral, but understand that the creators are harvesting metadata from the photos.
Well, this is just one of a multitude of apps that offer the entertainment or the convenience. And yes, they often do take what you're providing willingly and do with it as they wish. And the reality is their privacy policies, as they're called, allow it. The wording gives us all a really good feeling that the company is going to take very good care of our personal information, but they use such broad terms and vague wording that it really allows them to do pretty much whatever they want.
Yeah, terms and conditions, and I looked at it myself and it says, we can use your image any way we see fit. So shouldn't that set off some red flags?
Well, it should, but unfortunately, a lot of these privacy policies are so long and convoluted, people just click, I agree, and just keep going. They've been told, so many of us have been told for so many years that there is no privacy, but don't worry, we respect your privacy. And for me, when that's the first line of a privacy policy, I'm very, very wary because it's not reality. A lot of these companies make their money on manipulating the information they receive from us, whether it's selling our face to an advertiser to use in an ad that we might or might not approve of, whether it's the product or the concept. Imagine I put my face out there and next time my husband sees it on an ad for, I don't know, an escort service. I wouldn't be thrilled. Reality is, I would have given my permission because, as you say, we allow them a worldwide, royalty-free, perpetual license to do with our information pretty much as they wish. And once we give this all-encompassing consent, they can take our information and pass it on to other organizations who can pass it on to other organizations and so on and so on. So there's never mind, no direct connection with the organization. We have no idea who has our information to be able to say, please stop.
Sharon, is there a best way to protect yourself from this? Or is the only privacy option not to use these kinds of apps?
Well, the best thing is to avoid apps altogether because, I mean, especially if it's a free app, they're making their money somehow. And if we're not paying in dollars, we're paying in us. We are the product. So avoid them. I mean, it's enticing. And we know it's like children on the playground. Nobody wants to be left out. Nobody wants to be the one person on the sidelines while everybody else is having fun. It's that FOMO, fear of missing out. So we join in. It's human nature. We want to be part of the group and accepted. And so we join in. And we don't give it a second thought. And so avoid using these apps as much as possible. And really, an awful lot of the services that are available on the web we can do through our browser. Sure, we'll receive that little pop-up. Download the app. It's a lot more convenient. The convenience comes at a price. And if you're using something in your browser, then you can set the settings to restrict advertising, to limit how much of your information is grabbed by this other organization.
Now, is it true that an app like FaceApp could potentially download not just one picture, but maybe your entire photo collection you have on your phone or your computer?
Well, that's the problem. A lot of these apps don't even tell you what they're doing, and researchers and security researchers find out after the fact that yes, indeed, they're uploading pretty much everything from your phone. And again, it's that all-encompassing broad consent. You've allowed it. So go into your phone settings, and every time there's an arrow, click on that selection and dig as deeply as you can and go through all of the potential settings and restrict an app like your, I don't know, something that uses the microphone. Does it really need to have the camera? Does it need to have access to your location or your contacts? Turn it off unless it's absolutely necessary. And there's an awful lot of settings you can turn off so that it only turns on when you are using that app. And when you stop using it, turn it off completely. And the other thing you have to be very careful of is power. Something as simple as powering up your phone, whether it's in the hotel lobby or the school or an airport, coffee shop. It's really easy and quick to pop in the cord into your phone and the USB into the handy USB outlet, but you don't know what is behind that outlet. So there's something, it's actually called a USB condom. And it really and truly, and it's just a few dollars, under $15 usually. And you plug your phone cord into that, and that goes into the charging outlet on the USB side, and it prevents the data from being transferred. It only allows the power. Get into the habit of using that as a very, very good protective mechanism.
Interesting safety tip. Now, Sharon, when we cross over to the border, to the United States, or when we come back, sometimes the Border Patrol officer will ask to go through our phone or laptop. Are we required to allow them to do so?
Well, Canadian citizens, or should I say non-American citizens, really have no constitutional protection under the US Constitution when we enter their country. Same thing when we're going into another country. And when we come back into Canada, the border guards, their job essentially is to prevent illegal activity, illegal materials from coming into the country. So while officially they are not supposed to go on a fishing expedition and prowl through our entire device, if they ask and we refuse, we could be in the same situation as a Toronto lawyer who recently came back from being in South America studying for several weeks. And when he was asked for the password to his devices, he refused. Of course, as a lawyer, he has client confidential information on his devices. He would be breaching his professional code of ethics to divulge that, even to a border guard. He was arrested. We all face that because although the official policy might be one thing, there's really so far not much in the way of oversight for our border guards. Now, Murray Rankin, the NDP MP, he's just been appointed as the new chairman of an oversight body, a brand new oversight body. And my fingers are crossed because Mr. Rankin has a very, very solid understanding and background about data privacy and human rights. So we're very hopeful that that oversight body will finally be able to rein in the border guards and other federal law enforcement agencies.
So what kinds of protections can we really take to protect our personal data when crossing the border?
Well, it's a balancing act because if we take just a burner phone that has nothing on it, it looks suspicious. If we say there's very little on it, that too could be seen as suspicious. Some people have suggested if it's a corporate device, and if you do not have the password, then your hands are tied. Well, they don't have to let you into a country. They could simply say either you reveal the password or go home. Now, the other problem is a lot of these devices now have fingerprint and facial recognition as the key to opening the device. And in the States, the same rules that apply to passwords do not apply to faces. So imagine the border guard holds up your phone and says, "Is this your phone?" You look at it, there, it's open. If you turn it off, that just stalls the process. Really, it's a matter of keeping things clean. Don't carry more information than you absolutely must. If it's possible, just take a device that has nothing but the information that you absolutely have to carry with you. The rest of it, if you can leave it at the office and get access to it remotely, it's safer. But then again, VPN services aren't always what they're billed to be.
Many times when I'm out in public, I'll go to a fast food restaurant or maybe the airport, I'll use the public Wi-Fi. What information can others access from our phones or computers if we use their Wi-Fi?
Well, you sort of don't know, because quite often what appears to be a legitimate Wi-Fi, it's Starbucks.ca or something that you recognize, especially if it's the same place that you're at. It might be someone sitting a couple tables away who has their own device and they are scanning, and you're not connecting to the store or the restaurant's system. You are connecting to an individual's system. So if you just check your bank balance, they can see your password, all of your logon credentials. Once they've got that, they don't need anything else from your computer. They've got the keys to your castle. So it's much safer. Get a data plan and use that. And really, unless you're looking at a lot of videos, that you don't use that much data.
So how many of us actually take the time to read the privacy policy of the apps we use? And if we do, how much of it do we actually understand?
Well, the last time I counted, the Google and Facebook privacy policies went into the tens of thousands of words and dozens of pages. Really, most people ignore them because they're written, they're convoluted, they're like a small book, and really, who has time for it? And there's been studies that say if you read every privacy policy, it would take years off your life trying to understand the ifs and whens. I mean, I write these things, I understand the game, but for most people, they don't make it easy. And I think that's quite intentional on their part, so that people just say yes.
Can and should the Canadian government make changes to privacy laws to better protect our privacy?
Well, the Canadian government has been saying for years under different administrations that they would improve both the privacy legislation and the access to information legislation, and they have, to their credit, made some minor tweaks. But they're going to have to do something substantive, because if you recall, a year ago, Europe brought in the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation, and that set a new high standard worldwide, essentially. And Canada has always enjoyed substantially similar status, good housekeeping seal of approval that allowed European companies and governments to have personal information sent to Canada and processed here. Well, if Canada doesn't tighten up the rules of the game here, we're at serious risk of losing that status, and that would have massive economic implications that I don't think any government could afford.
Facial recognition technology is also being used more and more frequently for security reasons, but what kinds of privacy concerns come along with that?
Well, it's being billed as the latest and greatest thing for security, but first of all, cameras and CCTV doesn't stop or prevent crime. More importantly, when it comes to facial recognition, we've got everything from over 90%, 90% failure rate in Wales, their police department admitted it, to other areas across North America, including Canada, where police and cities not only have acknowledged that the facial recognition is not reliable, but some cities have banned it entirely, because the facial recognition in concept is great. But when you've got fallible people creating imperfect decision-making software that might say, my face looks like somebody who's wanted, or doesn't recognize faces with darker complexions. And a lot of people of color have found out the hard way when they are either not recognized or the system says that they are a suspect when they're completely innocent of everything. But because the computer said, they get investigated, and then their name is on a list somewhere. So next time they're asked a question, the police check, and their name is already on a list, and it builds. And it's terrible because the system is not ready yet, which is why, going back to FACEAPP, that app and so many others will take our faces and use that to train the artificial intelligence facial recognition systems. It's a vicious circle.
So is there any way to really protect ourselves from facial recognition technology?
Well, some people say, go live in the hills, run away, run away. In modern life in the big city, because crime tends to gravitate to certain areas of the city. And a lot of these companies are selling, really hard sell, saying, buy our technology to be able to investigate, prevent, whatever the crime. And cities are buying also because the old adage, the squeaky wheel. Well, there's some people who say, I don't care whatever it costs, and I am willing to give up my privacy, put in the technology to catch the bad guys. And when they are the only ones speaking up, if theirs is the only voice being heard, then the rest of us who want to preserve our privacy and our civil liberties and our freedoms, our democratic freedoms, we don't get heard. So then we get to live under surveillance.
Sharon Polsky is the president of the Privacy and Access Council of Canada. Thanks a lot for joining me today from Calgary.
My pleasure.
On behalf of all of us here at Bridge City News, I'm Hal Roberts. God bless and have a great night.